Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is Max All Access. This event was really inspired by the students in our coding bootcamp. We see a lot of value in connecting people with the insight from movers and shakers in the IT community, and our hope is to ask great questions that give you some fresh insight into their IT journey. And at Max, we are, I guess, what you consider lifelong learners, and we love to go beyond the basics and get to know the person. So thank you, Denise Bartik, for allowing us to host these events and talk to people like Heather. And tonight we will welcome the Executive Director of INTERalliance, a friend to Max and a champion for developing young IT minds in Cincinnati, Heather Ackels. Heather, welcome, and thank you for giving Max all access. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be here. I'm a huge fan of Max. I've partnered with you guys for a very long time in this role and previous, so I'm thrilled to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We kind of have this broken down in few sections. So for anybody that has never joined us before, we're going to dig into InterAlliance, what's happening, what's going on, talk to Heather about her role at InterAlliance, and then we'll jump into a personal kind of career journey and some history, and then we'll get a little personal and ask some fun questions towards the end, and then have some open Q&A. So for anyone who isn't familiar with InterAlliance, for your role at InterAlliance, tell us about your organization and the mission, and just give us some background.
Yeah, so InterAlliance is a Cincinnati-based nonprofit, and our entire mission is to inspire high school students into pursuing a future in technology. Selfishly, we want to keep them in Cincinnati, but we really want them to find that passion, find that inspiration, find a company that they're excited about, a sector within IT that they're excited about, and then we give them programs and networking opportunities to help them achieve that goal.
That's awesome. Are there any stories? I think the best way to illustrate what you guys are doing is, are there any stories that you can share with us on, the impact that the organization has on the lives of our local youth?
I think that with every single graduating class, right, we can identify some story. We have students all over the country at Case Western. We have students in marine technology on the West Coast. But I think my favorite story is that when I visited a Dido camp, and it was actually before I was executive director, I was there on behalf of Program, my previous company. Um, I ran into a student and he was there for the first time, and I was talking to him about what he wanted to do. He was from CPS, socioeconomically challenged in that area, right? And I said, well, you're really good at this stuff because they've been doing Minecraft coding, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're really good. What do you want to do? And he's like, I'm probably just going to work at McDonald's. And I said, really? Like, you are so talented. You know that there's more than that. So he started engaging with InterAlliance programs, and I got to see him more and more throughout. And he got early acceptance into actually UC, and he's doing cyber work. I mean, he's just incredible. So it's just one of those things of really bringing a student from seeing what they thought was possible and showing them the extension. And beyond that, I mean, you can tell within seconds, and I know Denise can, and Matt and all of the advocates here, right? You can tell within seconds a student who has gone through an InterAlliance program versus one who hasn't. I mean, the eye contact, the engagement, their elevator speech, like the eagerness that they present right off the bat, I think is a really good it's a really good indicator of the impact that we have, because it's not just giving people these opportunities, but we're also giving them the passion and the confidence to just really stand out and say, listen, I know what I want to do. I'm excited about this. I want to learn, and this is why I'm here. And that's really motivating for me, is to help create more of those students, right?
So what does a student that's unfamiliar with InterAlliance need to know? They've never heard of the organization. It's like I wouldn't even know where to get started. What do they need to know?
Anyone is welcome. That's the first thing. You do not have to have any coding experience. You do not have to have ever put together a robot. You don't even know how to spell IT. That's great. We want you. If you are completely unsure of what you want to do, but you have a propensity to solve problems, we can help. So go to the website, check us out, call me. Everything comes to me, whether it's a phone call to the office, an email, it all comes to me. And just say, hey, I don't know anything, I want some help, or I'm curious, and we will help you find your niche. Um, we are one, I want to say 100% student led. I'm as mature as a lot of those students, but I'm the only official adult employed by INTERalliance. So all of the programs, all of the content, all of the marketing, I mentioned Bella a second ago, that's all completed by high school students. So if there's a part of IT that you think you're interested in and we're not serving you, just tell us. I mean, we'll have an entire, and we'll talk about Tech Olympics, but we have an entire week called Art Tech that is only inspired. It was only created because we have one leadership council kid who said, I signed up to be here because you're not meeting my need. And I was like, okay, we'll do this. Let's get graphic design and 3D modeling and those user experience side of technology involved in this program. So be brave, reach out, and we'll do what we need to for you.
Awesome. And what about a parent? You know, the kid, you get the, but what does a parent need to know if they've never heard of INTERalliance?
It's free. 99% of everything we do is free. So even if they're unsure, we give them so many great opportunities to kind of stick their toe in without this huge financial cost. The only programs that we charge any money for are summer camps and Tech Olympics, both of which we offer full scholarships, thanks to great partners like Max and Kroger and P&G and FIS and all of the amazing partners that we have. So you can come completely free, you can engage and you can learn, but also in your junior and senior year, your student can land a paid internship doing meaningful technology work, taking home almost $5,000 just for the summer. So this is for juniors and seniors. So if you think about it, your student can go to college or into a boot camp or into the next part of their career with 2 years of meaningful work experience under their belt. And you don't get that almost anywhere else. So that's really why, even if you're unsure, start asking, right? Start coming to the table and bring your students to us. We do fairly regular parent-only webinars where the student or the parents are, it's free space, right? I don't know anything about this. Tell me what it is. Tell me why I should be here. And it's me and them, and it's all Q&A. And I've probably spent 5 hours this week just on follow-up meetings with parents who attended the last one, answering their very specific questions. You know, my kid is he's an 8th grader. How can he get involved? Those types of questions. So again, it's be brave, jump in, ask questions, and reach out. And you know, there's a lot of value here. Even if your kid is going into business, which they should be going into IT because all business is IT. But even if they are excited about business, we give them so much professional development that they're going to be successful wherever.
You mentioned Tech Olympics a few times, and I want to talk about the exciting events that you have coming up in 2021, and maybe you can start with that one. So, you know, what's coming up, and you know, do you have anything finishing the year? What's coming up in 2021, and let's talk about some of those events.
Yeah, so Tech Olympics is the nation's largest technology conference for high school students, led by high school students, and it happens in Cincinnati, Ohio. I think that people really fail to recognize how powerful that is. So we have a team of 30 students, and they have been working since August, and they will pull together a conference that typically brings about 500 students for multiple days of hands-on workshops, many of which are led by your team at Max, hands-on workshops, intense competitions, breakouts, intern panels. It is truly a tech conference. So anyone who has gone to an Oracle conference or a Google conference, it's the exact same thing, only we make sure that the high school students are excited. And in the middle of all of that, going back to those internships, the students have the ability to interact with all of the companies who are offering internships over the summer. So you can literally pull it up on your phone and say, hey, I see this internship. Can you tell me more about it? Or I'm super interested. So on top of just getting great, you know, knowledge and learning experience, you can actually make a face-to-face connection with a potential hiring partner on the spot. And those job descriptions drop only at Tech Olympics and first, and then they don't drop to the general public for another week. So those students get the kind of leg up to go and make those connections and those partnerships before anyone else. This year, it is completely virtual. Thank you, Corona, for making sure that we can stay on top of our toes and be highly innovative. Typically, it's 3 days. So it is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday overnight event. There is no sleep. There is a ton of caffeine ingested. It is rapid fire craziness. We are turning that on its head, and it will be a full month-long virtual event. So it'll happen Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday through the week after school, and then Saturday or Sunday on the weekends. So students, here's the best part. Normally it's $200. This year, because we know that so many of our families have been hit negatively by this economic pandemic, we have been able to lower the cost to $35 for early registration. So you get over 80 sessions of technology-based content. You also get a swag bag of all the things. So like, here's your shirt and here's your pen and here's your things. But also, we don't want any of the students out there to worry about a session and needing anything for it. So for every session you sign up for, if there's a material or a technology ask, you need a license, we're going to be providing that to you as well. So because of that, we are going to be the most accessible Tech Olympics in the history of Tech Olympics, because it is low cost, no transportation, no limitations on the space. We're going to make sure that from a technology perspective that you have everything that you need. We have support set up in like standby mode to help you. And all of our business partners will still be there in virtual booths and career fairs. So it should be, I don't want to say the same experience. I feel like it's going to be an elevated experience, because you're going to get all of this extra stuff kind of at the end of the day. And you're also going to be able to engage in the same way. Each week is going to be themed, which I'm really thinking excited about. I get excited really easily for people who don't know me, which I think almost everyone does on this meeting, but I am really, really excited about. So 4 weeks, software dev, cyber, art tech that I mentioned, and then data and AI. So if you have a student who is like, you know what, I only care about cyber, I'm not paying $200 to maybe get 5 sessions of cyber, they can pay the $35 and take full advantage of that solid week of stuff. Everything that week will either be related to the theme, professional development, intern readiness, or diversity and technology, because we know that those things are critical for any technologist, regardless of what branch you're going into and where you're going. So we are pumped. We are so excited. I don't know how much sleep is happening because the students are trying to figure out how to pull off a month-long event that normally is in 3 days, but we're doing it.
So, I mean, it's amazing how COVID has really, burnt the bridges between people and events and attending things. So, has this inspired, or is this going to change things in the future for how you deliver this event? Like the things that you're having to do to pull this off, I think, are you holding on to some of those and you're like, hey, you know what? Like this would actually.
Yeah. So I think that, and Matt and I have talked, Matt Godstead, for those of you who don't know, Matt Godstead is actually my boss. And we've actually talked about this. My background in research and development, I think, has really helped me here, because I don't look at a lot of this as a barrier. I look at this as a way to innovate and our way to deliver what we want to deliver in a different manner. So summer camps are a great example. Typically, those are a week on site at a local university and several businesses. This year, we delivered them virtually. They were very different because we were heavily focused on a theme, where 1 week we did game design. So we had the students build a physical board game and then turn it into a video game. So they had to go through all the user experience, the strategy, the software development behind it, which was phenomenal. Each day we had our business partners come in and coach them, give keynotes on the theme of the week, what they're doing in their company. So it was really engaging. And for the first time ever, we saw 20% of the students halfway through the first week sign up for the second week. Which is perfect. So that's a really big deal, because normally we're a one-stop shop, right? You can only spend 1 week at UC. You're not interested in signing up for a week at another college because it's so intensive. But because we were able to offer it virtually, it was just really well received. So next year, hopefully we can go back to person, but we're also going to offer those virtual camps. We've also done Ask Me Anythings. It really pushed us to doing a lot of our professional development training online and creating videos as to where previously they would come and they'd have to listen to me for a couple of hours. Now we're taking videos of all of these professionals and expanding the exposure to the students and really giving them more. So there's a joke within INTERalliance that we're nothing if not flexible. We've decided that we're going to convert it to Latin and I'll get tattoos, but sorry, Matt, I won't tattoo your kids, but we're all going to get tattoos of we're nothing if not flexible in Latin, because nothing has been normal since I got here. So I don't know if I'm cursed or if we're just making big waves. I don't know.
I appreciate that, by the way.
So one last question on COVID, because we're seeing a lot of the labor and workforce being affected, and a lot of that labor and a lot of that workforce are jobs that, you know, maybe a high school student would be looking at as like a lot of service industry, retail, and like a lot of these channels are closing off. So how much more pressure do you think is being felt right now to look at these technical roles and these pathways for the kids coming out of high school?
Again, I like to look at it as an opportunity, right? So as one door closes, another door opens. And because the entire state, right, is looking and watching these service industries jobs close, we see so much money that is opening up for students to go and get training in a technical field that they may spend the early part of their career, the beginning part of their career doing something more service-based. Not that that's not a meaningful, great job, but right now, you guys did a great session on it last week, right? On how you can tap into those funds and figure out how to gain some of this incredibly important training to jumpstart your career into the technology industry with very minimal cost or reduced cost to you. So that's what I've been preaching to my students. Like, yes, you're working through historic times. Yes, you're all doing college from home, but you've got virtual boot camps all over the city of Cincinnati that are incredibly interested in you, incredibly willing to invest in you. And I think it does give those students an opportunity without, I don't know how to say it without sounding crazy, but so many of the kids are like, oh, I have to go to a 4-year degree. You do, right? Maybe, not really. There are so many opportunities without that 4-year degree or 2-year degree. And now that they don't want to do college from home, they don't want to do it from their couch, and they're looking at these other opportunities. And for me, it's really important to make sure that they see that those opportunities and those financial pathways exist for them. So we've made sure that we are very much communicating like, hey, there's money. Come get your money. Come get this training, because it's important. It's just important.
Perfect. I'd like to.
And Max didn't pay me to say that, for anyone that's watching. Denise did not pay me to say that. That is the truth.
Well, you're right. It's real. They're like there are groups out there trying to pour this money into this, and for some of them, if it doesn't get used, it's not going to come back.
Right.
They're not going to keep putting that money back in if it's not working. And so.
Right.
And I feel like you and I shared the same thing of like, we're trying to shout it from the mountaintops. Like, if you don't know, how do you not know? Like, it's amazing trying the fight that has to go on to try and reach people so that they understand it can be easier.
Yeah. And one thing that I've tried to incorporate in, I mentioned those parent sessions, is that I mentioned that to them, right? Because it's not just the students that are impacted, it's the parents who have been working in a service industry job for a long time, and now they're wondering what to do. That money is equally available, if not more so available for them, especially if you are a minority or you're a veteran. I mean, there's so many funds. So I try to make sure that it's not just, yes, INTERalliance is completely focused on the high school students, absolutely. But our high school students are much more successful if their family unit is taken care of. And if those opportunities exist beyond that high schooler, then for me, I'm not doing them any justice by not sharing that they exist to the broader audience.
Absolutely. I think IT has impacted the lives of a lot of people on this call, and I feel like IT is one of those areas where it just sometimes doesn't feel like a career. It just feels like a journey, because you're constantly chasing this knowledge and you're always moving and always progressing. So how has IT impacted your life, and when did that journey begin?
A long time ago. So I I grew up in the boonies out and Di knows because she's married to someone who also grew up in the boonies. But out in the boonies, Brown County is pretty far out there in Ohio. and you were really limited on the job roles that they expected, especially if you were a female, right? You should be a nurse, you should be a teacher, or you should be a farmer's wife. And fortunately or unfortunately for my dad, he raised three very, very strong individuals, two daughters and a son. And we could not conform to social norms. We were throwing tobacco in the barns and we were bossing people around on the farm. Like that's just kind of how we grew up. And being a teacher is great, and I'm very excited about that, but it just wasn't for me. Being someone's wife, my husband is on, he knows I don't do that job well either. I'm very bossy and loud. So it was one of those things where it's like, as I was figuring out who I wanted to be, and I've known Matt my whole life, like in seeing Matt's passion, my husband Matt's passion in technology, and knowing that I had this propensity for math and I loved solving problems, it was, with my research, it was one of those things that I just naturally fell into. And I think, Matt, I was supposed to be watching your siblings and we ended up taking something apart at your house. And I think that was the minute that I decided that I was going to be kind of a half decent technologist. But like that was it, right? Like I wanted to solve problems and I always wanted to have fun. And where else can you do that but within technology? So I was fortunate that I got a full tuition scholarship to Thomas More. The best part about that was that it allowed me to work in the computer center. So in my high school, love Western Brown, right? Go Broncos. But the most technical class that I had was typing. So I went to Thomas More for information systems, and I was so thankful to have that job in the computer center where I got to build a computer and I got to figure out why things were broken, and I got to break things myself and go, oh, I got to figure this out. Why did this happen? So I was really fortunate through that. I spent my 4 years at Thomas More working, landed an internship with Kroger at a very young age. Sorry, there's like a bug. A very, I would say young age, and fell in love. I mean, I love Kroger. I still love Kroger. And to a point, and if any of my high school students are listening or watching this video, don't do this. But when I was graduating, I didn't apply anywhere else. Like I was going to be the guy in the basement going, I'm going to work here. You don't have to pay me, but I'm obsessed with this culture and I'm obsessed with what I'm doing. So that's how I started my career at Kroger. And, the internship paid off. I will tell you that my friend, Justin Simpson, came to me and said, hey, there's an intern opportunity and I think you should apply. And it's with Kroger. And I said, no, I grew up on a farm. The last thing that I want to do is deal with food. I've done that. Like I want to do something in IT. And he's like, Kroger's huge, bigger than you think. Give it a shot. Like you might like it, you might not like it, but it's great for your resume. Go. And 13 years later, right? Like I was there for, it seems forever. But yeah, it's one of those things. Don't check something off until you absolutely know what you're doing and kind of jump in and at least experience it.
Well, I mean, over those years, you had a ton of wisdom along the way. Is there any wisdom that you try to pass along to the students that you directly interact? Is there something that kind of stands out that, like, if there's something I can instill into you before you get out of here, I want it to be this?
Fail. Sign up to fail. Sign up for things that no one else has tackled. So that I started in transportation systems and logistics, and anyone who is excited about supply chain, there is nothing harder than supply chain technology. It is incredible. So if you love solving problems, figure out how to make sure that you don't have empty miles on a truck, because it is crazy hard. I did that for a while. I saw, I conquered, and I switched into store systems. And the day that I started in store systems, so think your scales or the three bubbles in the front of the room, QVision, the day that I started, the CIO at the time called me and said, hey, I know that you really like to solve things that are broken. I need you on a plane tomorrow to go to the little clinic. They need help. So I went from figuring out how to move a truck efficiently to healthcare. And I was obviously very qualified, right? I should figure out how to make sure your healthcare is working. So I got on a plane and I went to Nashville, which was really silly because I could have driven there faster. And I figured it out, and I loved what I was doing. During that time, I started working with Kroger's research and development department, got the little clinic kind of back on a technology roadmap. Really love my Little Clinic folks. Colleen, who runs Little Clinic and all the pharmacy systems now at Kroger, she is my spirit animal. She is who I want to be when I become an adult, if I ever become an adult. Like, she is just incredible. But I called Chris and I said, hey, your R&D department is broken and I'd really like to try to fix them. And, so if you would give me a team, I could try. And he said, okay. I asked for 3, he gave me 5. And when I left Kroger, I had just about 200 under me with all of the software developers and scrum masters and electrical engineers. But my responsibility was to take prototype to production. So figure out how to make it work from one desk to 3,000 stores and that team that built around it. So my advice to them is sign up for big problems and don't be afraid to fail. Because at the end of the day, you've learned something. And if you're jumping into a space that no one else has solved, guess what? You already did better than everybody else because you at least tried. So that's kind of where I want to impact them. I think so many of them are just paralyzed by perfection. And if it's not perfection, then it's failure. And it's like, failure is awesome. Failure is the only way that you're going to learn. And if you're perfect at everything that you do, then you're not trying hard enough. And you're definitely not being the person and the technologist and the human that you can be. Because if you're not uncomfortable and if you're not struggling, then you haven't learned anything. But that's my sage advice. And my leadership council, my ILC, they get really sassy with me because they're like, but it's not working. And I'm like, great. How do we make it work? What did we learn today? And they get really stressed out by me.
Would you say that the woman that you mentioned, would she be the professional that had the greatest impact on your path? I think something that's really undervalued today is that mentorship relationship. I went through a co-op program, and there's a big difference in my experiences based on the person and their interest in my outcome. Who would be the professional that you look to that you think had the greatest impact on your journey?
I think that's hard. I think that's a really hard thing because in every situation where you interact with another professional, they teach you something, especially someone who's above you, right? They teach you how to lead or how not to lead. So there's been a ton of leaders that have shaped me purely just because I don't ever want to be them, right? I don't ever want to be that person who's like, oh, I'm glad I'm not on that team anymore. Colleen Lindholz is a genuine human being. She cares about people. Like, if she called me right now and said, Heather, I'm in California and I need you to come get me, I would figure out how to get to California. Like, she is that type of person. So she's one of them. I'm a huge fan of Chris Jones, the former CIO of Kroger. He took me under his wing really early when I was as an intern, actually, and gave me a voice, which is incredibly important for me. Well, what do you think? Why do you think that? And challenge me in a lot of ways. And to risk sounding like I'm sucking up, because I'm definitely not, because I told him this before he was my boss. Matt was a leader at Kroger when I was an intern and when I was an early manager. So I got to see how Matt Gott said how he led in outage situations. I mean, there were so many times where we were both in kind of that service area where if something goes down, it does not matter what day of the week, what holiday it is, what time of the day it is, you're going to get on the call and you're going to figure out what's going on. And there were so many times where it had nothing to do with his area that he would jump on because he had prior experience or just wanted it solved. He would offer, and it was always very kind and very genuine. And those are the types of leaders that I look up to. Colleen, Chris, and Matt are 3 people that under pressure do incredibly well, and they're less focused on, oh, we got to get this figured out, and more focused on the team, right? Everybody good? Do you have what you need? Can I get you coffee? Can I order pizza? Like, those are the types of people where it's like, trust your team. They're going to get it done. You take a step back and figure out how you can best support them. And that's, in my opinion, that's what has helped shape me into the leader that I think that I am, or that I want to be, I guess.
What would you say is the most undervalued skill or underestimated skill an IT professional out in can have today?
Being able to communicate in a way that makes sense to the general masses. I call my students out on this a lot where they're brilliant, but Con is on. I will say, I don't know what you mean. Talk English to me. Speak English. Tell me in an idiot's term, right? Tell me in a way that I'm going to understand. Because you can have the best idea and the best technology, but if you don't have a story behind it or a pathway to communicate it to someone so that they're inspired, they support you, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Your idea is going to sit on the back shelf. So just making sure you understand the business and can communicate in a way that matters, you'll be golden.
Is there a job you've held that, and all problems are wonderful for you, but is there a job that you look back and you're like, okay, that one I could just maybe just scratch that one out?
No. And I saw that question and I was hoping that you would skip it, to be honest. Because I think the points in my career that were hard, I benefited from them, or I played the shield enough to make sure that the people underneath of me weren't negatively impacted. My last role at Kroger, loved what I was doing, loved the creation of the commercialization engine, right? But there was so much pressure and there were so many really big personalities kind of in that level above me that was putting pressure down, that it made it very uncomfortable for me. But I think if you asked the couple of levels below me or the level directly below me, they wouldn't have felt that. And that to me is worth me enduring the struggle, because they were the talent, they were the ones that were making things happen. And my goal is to make sure that they could do that, right? So I was removing barriers for them. And honestly, my dream job is to work at a video store, which doesn't exist anymore. That was my first job and I loved it. So most people are like, oh, my first job, I could have done it for the rest of my life. I loved it. But I think probably my last job at Kroger was the hardest one that I had. But I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Video store. I think there may be one or two left. Ever just get interested.
It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. I loved it.
I thought I heard there was one left, Dustin.
I think it might be a family video. I think it might actually be down the street for me.
No, there's family videos all over the West Side. Family videos everywhere. When I go, I say when I'm at Kroger, but when I was doing support and rolling out Scan Bag Go, we would pass family videos all the time on the West Side. I'm just gonna have to step in and smell the weirdo plastic.
Walk around for a little bit.
Like a lunatic, yeah.
Get a bag of candy.
See if they're still using the same sanitizer that they spray on the carpet that smells like crap.
I know you can stay overnight at a Blockbuster and then just have your way with their whole catalog.
That sounds really inappropriate. I would not let you stay overnight in my video store, Kevin. I'm just saying.
Oh man.
So asking some, we're gonna roll into the fun personal time, because I want to make sure that, even though we're pretty familiar with the majority of the people joining us this evening, I'm sure they're gonna have questions. So kind of rapid fire, Apple or Android?
Android.
A Microsoft Office or a Google Docs person? Are you which side? That's a tough one.
It's Google Docs. That's what we use. I think from a professionalism perspective, I'd like INTERalliance to use Microsoft, but it never works for me. So I'm going to say Google Docs. And don't tell Chris Carper or Denise. Don't tell him.
Are you a cat?
That, Heather. Oh my gosh, good thing Heather, he's not hearing this. So.
Are you a cat person or a dog person, and do you have any pets?
Dog. I have one dog who was supposed to be a tiny 30-pound wonderful creature who ended up almost 70 pounds. Her name is Valkyrie, and she actually runs the house. She's in control here. So she's perfect.
If you could invite any person over history, current person to dinner, who would it be and what are you serving?
I have two answers. One would be Melinda Gates, and secondly would be Ada Lovelace. And I just want to see the two of these really powerful, badass women talk to me about how they are changing, how they're changing. I mean, Ada Lovelace was an actress, right? Like she was this sex symbol, and then also just invented Bluetooth technology and wireless. Like she just did that as a whim. So I would just love to see kind of like who they were outside of that. And then I have a huge crush on Miss Gates because she could do literally anything with all the money. And instead of, just buying houses all over the world and being fabulous, she's giving so much of that time and energy and money back to the community to solve big problems. And the question that I would have to her is like, how do you decide what to do? Like where to put your focus and where to put that passion? Because she's obviously she's got a huge heart. And what would I serve? I love to grill, so I would probably serve my Chipotle jerk pork tenderloin, unless they decide they hate meat, in which case it might be a little unfortunate, but I make some really good like lasagna spaghetti squash without any meat, which is really fantastic.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Mm.
Kevin,
It's really
did you want to insert a question, Kevin? I've got a few more that I'm going to go through. Or do you want to wait till I'm finished?
No, I'll throw one out there. Heather, if you had one day left to live, how would you spend it?
With my 7-year-old. If it was warm, wherever we are, we would be in the water. We would be in a pool or in the beach. I don't like this question. It's choking me up a little. I would be with my 7-year-old. We'd be playing Minecraft. We'd be coloring. We'd be running around outside. I mean, I love my husband. My 7-year-old is my soulmate. So whatever I could do to spend every minute with him, that's what I would do.
Family.
Don't ask me any more of
Absolutely.
those.
Family.
Ugh, I don't like that.
So, yeah, we're gonna lighten it back up, Kevin Newkirk.
Sorry.
Jeez.
What was your? I love this question because I think it's fun. What was your first car?
It was a 1997 Nissan 200 SX, and it was black and it was perfect, except that the gas cap, like the gas like cover, was just slightly a different color black. So everything was like beautiful and shiny, and then I had this like matte finish on the thing. And it lasted me until I graduated college. So I got it when I was 16, and it lasted me until I graduated. And I was really sad. And I still have one of those like ghost moments where I'm driving down the highway and I'm like, I think that was my car. Look at the gas. It was definitely my car. But I miss her so much. Her name was Sassy and she was great.
Oh, sorry about that. That sounds like a lovely vehicle.
She was fantastic.
If an intro song played every time you entered a room, what song would that be?
With Di and Matt, my husband, on the video, they would probably say "Baby Got Back" because I love that song, but that's not what I would want to walk into. I would say as an empowered, strong female, I'm going to go with "Roar" from Katy Perry, but it definitely changes by generation, but I would say that that's my song, at least currently.
I'm really working on a movement that people start using their phones to play intro music as they enter into rooms. I'm going to try and get this to be a thing.
I can support that. If you want me to start at the high school level, I absolutely can figure that out. Let's collaborate. We can do this.
I think it can happen. If you're jumping on Netflix, what's your go-to right now?
I'm a big fan. I just finished The Haunting of Bly Manor, working on Lovecraft. Anything that's creepy gets me. So that's kind of where I fall. I don't do a whole lot of TV or Netflix. I'm a big reader. So it takes a whole lot to pull me to the actual television. And in that case, I'm almost exclusively watching horror movies or sometimes the occasional. I actually really like Quentin Tarantino, so I'll watch that. But other than that, not a whole lot.
So what are you reading right now then?
Oh, my Lanta. So I'm reading Lisa Jules, The House We Grew Up In. I am reading Hood Feminism. And then I'm reading a book by J.J. Abrams called S. I just finished Wendy Webb's The Haunting of Mercy Tate, I think is what it was called. So I read like 5 books at a time. I mentioned at the beginning I have ADD, so I have to have a lot of books going all the time.
What is the funniest moment that you've had in this COVID world in virtual meetings?
Well, we actually have my son locked upstairs, like padlocked up, but 99% of the time he is running through my meetings nearly naked. He has completely embraced the fact that he doesn't have to go anywhere and he primarily just wears underwear. So that, in fact, again, any of the leadership council kids are shaking their head going, yes, we've seen the 7-year-old half nude all the time. So that would be it. Many times I've had a couple of sponsorship meetings. I was with GE, and even though I was talking and very active in the meeting, he comes up right here and you can't see, right? So all you can see is him heads up. So he looks like he is naked. And he's like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, oh my God, please still give me money after this. See, he needs clothes. Like, you have to give me money. So that was probably the best.
Right now, what's your favorite place to eat in the area?
Via Vitae. I love their bolognese. It's so good. But if you haven't been to the east side, to the Madeira, Ferrari's Little Italy, phenomenal, absolutely incredible. But Via Vitae is probably my favorite.
I'll have to add the other one to my list. If I have a ticket in my hand for a vacation to anywhere, where are you going?
Anywhere with water. Has to be hot, has to be wet. That's all that matters. My favorite place my favorite is Arizona. So no wet, right? But it's very hot. As long as I'm warm, I'm happy.
I am right there with you. I am not a fan of the cold, and I partially global warming, though I want us to have a planet. I do like the warmth. So if
Well, I don't
if
want Arizona
somebody
to catch on fire, right?
yeah, it's already hot
A lot
enough.
more.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room for growth there.
No.
If somebody's making a movie about you and you get to pick who plays you, who are you choosing?
I struggled with this question, and I'm going to tell you lots of reasons why. Number one, I feel like I'm very funny, and some of you may not agree, but I feel like I'm very funny. I talk really fast. So I went back and forth between like Lauren Graham, but Lauren Graham she's never blonde, so I can't imagine her as a blonde. And then I went with like Melissa McCarthy because she's fantastic and she's hysterical, but you don't see her very often in like really serious roles. And I feel like there's lots of time in my life where you have to be really serious. Um, and then like I feel like I look a little bit more like Kate Winslet, but if Kate like pulls out this English accent, like that doesn't make any sense. And then I have a huge crush on Zoe Bell, who is Australian, so not the same, and she's a total badass. Like she could just beat me up, would not fit well at all. And then there's Jennifer Lawrence. So I don't know. Someone else is gonna have to pick because I have ADD. I have no idea.
You know what? I think we're actually going to have to smash them all together and combine them for one entity that can be the one.
Maybe every scene they can switch just to really
Yes.
confuse people.
Yes.
That would be best.
So I'm going to get to my last question and then open it up to the group. Actually, and then I've got one in the chat. But if you could see any musician at any live concert, who is it? And where's it at? What's the scene? Who are you picking?
Sublime, 1996 in Long Beach, California. Sublime is a band that I'm absolutely obsessed with and heartbroken that Bradley Knoll died in 1997. I was in the 7th grade, right as I was really finding like the whole footing with Sublime, and they've tried to recreate that so much and they just failed. So it's super heartbreaking for me that they like hit it big and then they lost the heart, I think, of the band. So I would like to be in his element, and LBC right there with Sublime, 1996.
Awesome answer. That was a great answer. Let me grab the one in the chat real quick. Besides your boss, what is your favorite part of being executive director at INTERalliance?
It's my kids. It's the ability to not have to be hyper professional all the time. It's seeing them grow from a student who doesn't want to talk to you to a student who never stops talking, to seeing, just watching them grow. I would say that it is rewarding and it's terrible. Matt knows this, my husband knows this. Last year at graduation time, I was a mess for weeks. I would go to a different graduation party and I would sob, and I would write, a love letter of why I was so happy that they were graduating and here's your gift. And I would sob, and you just cry for days on losing all of this amazing talent. And, I think I even said at one point in time where it's like, I don't know if we can top the leadership council that I had last year. And then I get this new crop of kids and I'm like, oh my God, these are the best kids I've ever worked with in my whole life. And they're amazing and I don't ever want to lose them. So it's this like circle of being a masochist where I just fall so intently in awe of these students and then watch them leave kind of the nest and go on and grow, and then I get to recultivate. So like if we didn't do any programs and if we didn't engage with any business partners and I just had the opportunity to do that professional development and the mentoring and the coaching of the students that I get to work with, I would be equally as happy. I mean, that's my favorite part. It's my kids.
Awesome. If anybody would like to and join us socially or turn your video on, please, by all means, we've got about 5 minutes left. Feel free to share in conversation, ask, Heather, any questions that you may have, and I will close us down at 7. Does anybody want to jump on with us, Denise? I know.
I have a question. So Heather, how did you get involved with INTERalliance, and what made you jump from this great job at Kroger to INTERalliance? I mean, it was such a dramatic change for you.
It was and it wasn't. I think if you knew me, then people were like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I went on maternity leave to have my wonderful, only very bossy son. And I came back, and the first week that I was back, my manager at the time, voluntold me to go to this ITNU event at Tech Olympics in the middle of February in the freaking cold. And I had to pay for my own parking, and I had to go to the Millennium Hotel, and I was not happy. And I was only supposed to be there an hour. And I sat down at the table, like full on grump face, and I fell in love. Like, I can't even exaggerate that. I fell in love. I was supposed to be there an hour. I stayed 3 hours. I walked directly into the volunteer lounge where Matt and Kyle Barnes were. And I was like, I don't know how to get more involved in this, but I want to be involved. And it grew from there. And, Chris Shelm, he and I had been working for a long time. He understood my passion for talent and my passion for people. And he put me, after Matt and after Jem and after all of these INTERalliance kind of leaders left Kroger, he put me responsible for the intern program and helping with IT career camps and all the things from a Kroger perspective. So I just kept getting more and more involved, and willingly. And it wasn't like, you have to do this. I have never missed a chapter competition. Like, it's one of those things that I feel very passionately about. And the previous board chair called me and said, hey, I want to take you to lunch to thank you for everything you've done with Tech Olympics. And I have an idea I want to run past you. I said, okay. And we go, and he says, we're looking for, what's next with an executive director. And he provided me with 2 profiles that were terrible. And I told him that they were terrible and he didn't want them. And he is a very animated person. So he was like, oh, so what do I do now? And I was like, at risk of getting divorced, would you consider me? And, it kind of is history from there. And I went to Chris Jelm and I resigned directly to him before anyone else. And I said, listen, this is the opportunity that I have on the table. And he made me a great counter offer, but he goes, I know your passion is here. He goes, so I'm going to offer you something because I want you to stay with Kroger, but you're not going to hurt my feelings if you do something else or if you go with the position that you're leaving for. And without that support and that love from Kroger and that safety net, I don't know that I would have been here, without them recognizing that my passion really does lie with talent and students and engagement and really this INTERalliance. I don't know that I would be here, but I'm really thankful that I am.
It's wonderful. You've done such a great job. You really have. It's
Thank you.
So good
Now,
for our city. It's amazing.
Now, Heather, how do companies and how that can help? How do companies and organizations partner with INTERalliance?
We have a ton of ways. So we're always looking for speakers. We're always looking for money. because we're a nonprofit. But we have a ton of programs. So if you're only interested in the younger talent, then coming and visiting and supporting IT career camps is probably what's best for you. If you are, if you need help and you're interested in investing in internships, we have that as well. And we can do internships around the clock. I will tell you, I have employed hundreds of full-time employees, probably over 50 college interns and equal amount high school interns. And I would put my money on my INTERalliance interns every minute of the day. Every minute of the day. And I give you that commitment because they are driven and they are smart and they want it. So there are a ton of opportunities. And if the cookie cutter, like how to engage doesn't work for you, we're nothing if not flexible. So call me and we'll figure out exactly how we can make INTERalliance support you and you support INTERalliance, and we're here. Our goal is to make sure that those kids find your organization, find that passion and inspiration, and they stay here and they kill it as an IT professional. That's all we want.
And if anybody would like to visit INTERalliance, it's interalliance.org is the website. How long is early registration? It says it's ending soon. How long is that running?
December 15th. December 15th is when it closes. And after that, it goes up $5. So we're not raising it any more than $10 a week. So 35 until December 15th and then 40 after that. And if that is too much, that is okay. There's no judgment. You fill out a scholarship form, we go through it, and you are absolutely, we want every single student who wants to be at Tech Olympics to be at Tech Olympics, period. Do not let anything stop you. Call me. I will figure out how to get past that barrier, period.
Awesome. Well, we have reached 7 o'clock, and thank you, Heather. I really appreciate your time. This is so much fun. We do a lot of events, but this one is like it's the one where you can just really sit down and take a deep breath and just enjoy yourself and have a good time. And so I really enjoy these, and we're going to keep doing these every month. So I appreciate you being gracious with your time, and the information and all the work that you're doing is so important, especially right now. So thank you very much. And thank you to all of our guests. Thank you, Max Technical Training and Denise Bartik, for allowing for us to do these. We appreciate everybody's time tonight. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful upcoming holiday. Thank you very much, Heather.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Thanks for being such a great partner, and thanks for everybody being here. I had a great time, and as always, Max is an amazing partner for INTERalliance, and we're so thankful. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have
Bye,
a good
everyone.
night, everybody.
Bye.